This episode is made possible by NetSuite by Oracle and Brex, the AI-powered spend platform.
Hello, this is Alex Triplett, CFO of AppFire, and you are listening to the CFO Thought Leader Podcast.
This is episode 973.
Benefits of our X Plus methodology is making sure that we produce with lower cost. And that really allows us to even incorporate other things that normally will be considered upgrades for other builders into our home business. And a lot of our customers come in and say, well, we never seen a home like this to be considered like an entry-level home. They can see that we included a lot of these extra benefits. And we can do that because we have a lot of cost benefits by producing in a manufacturing environment with our own technology.
Hi, it's Jack. On today's episode, we speak with Alejandro Castro, CFO of ONX. It was during a 9-year tenure at food giant ConAgra Brands that Alejandro Castro became involved in a company-wide initiative that would forever alter his approach to leadership and strategic thinking. For his part, Castro had several years earlier accepted a position with ConAgra's Mexico operations and subsequently got promoted and relocated to the firm's Omaha headquarters. It was in Omaha that Castro would be appointed by the company's CEO to help ConAgra adopt the GE workout methodology across its many business units. Going forward, Castro would be stationed along the methodology's collaborative front lines. You'll hear about that and much more on today's episode. We'll begin after this. CFOs and controllers, does expense management feel like a necessary evil? It's time to switch to Brex. Brex automates and accelerates spend management with easy-to-use corporate cards, travel, expense management, and bill pay, all on one AI-powered platform. Brex makes it easy to boost efficiency and compliance enterprise-wide and free up your managers, employees, and accounting team for higher impact work. Top companies from startups to enterprises are using Brex to automate manual work and transform their finance operations. We're talking DoorDash, Robinhood, Airtable, and countless other industry leaders. Ready to join them? Switch to AI-powered spend management at Brex.com. Hello, we're speaking to Alejandro Castro, CFO of ONX. Alejandro, welcome.
Thank you, Jack. Pleasure to be here.
So, as always, we're going to ask you to look back, Alejandro, and we're interested in those experiences in particular, which you feel really prepared you to step into a CFO role. What would come to mind for you as you look back?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. The way that I see it is I will classify it in 3 buckets. One is really all the technical skills, right? So it's all the accounting and finance skills. I started my career with public accounting, and that was very, very helpful in this journey. Not only because the skills and being able really to work with a lot of different industries and work with a lot of very talented people. I work in public accounting in Mexico City. That's where I was born and raised, and gave me a very different perspective on this, right?
And it was Price Waterhouse.
It was Price Waterhouse. Yeah, it was.
Tell us more about that. Landing a job in the capital city. Help us open our eyes to what you're experiencing here. This exciting chapter.
Jack, when I started my career in public accounting with Price Waterhouse in Mexico City, it was very unique, right? So think about, I was just getting out of college. I mean, my dream job, I wanted to really get into one of these big six at the time. And when I was able to really land this position in Mexico City, so imagine, right? One of the largest cities in the world. I was right there in the middle, very close to downtown, beautiful building. And for me, it was just impressive just to get there and just experience the whole thing, right? So it was really a dream come true to go and join an organization like that, and started to really put in to work all the different things that you learn in school, right? So you're in school, you're becoming a CPA, but it really doesn't click until you are really going to the businesses and learning from all the different industries. I still remember those days in Mexico City. I had to commute for over an hour to get to the office. And of course, being one of the youngest there, they will send you to all of these remote locations and all of these fun assignments that nobody wants to do when you start. So go and do all these inventory counts and go and check these other factories. So I was really going to a lot of the different places. We had factories in Mexico. So I was always commuting for more than an hour every day. But I can tell you, it really paid off, right? Because had the chance to work with a lot of different teams inside Price Waterhouse. And it was a unique opportunity being in such a large city, and also had an opportunity to travel inside Mexico, right? So we had customers in multiple states. So I had that opportunity to go and visit. I remember one that was very unique. I had to go to one of the states where there's a lot of oil production, and went to some of those factories there, and just the smell, it was very different than a big city, right? So I was born and raised in Mexico City, and then go to a small town. It was very unique at that age. I still have very, very good friends from those early days, right? And a lot of them have been extremely successful there in different industries, different businesses, and just keeping those relationships really allow me to continue to expand on other things. When you are in this role in the CFO seat, you're not always going to have all the answers, right? But you need to make sure that you know people that can help you delivering those. And I can tell you that the network that I built over the years has been extremely helpful in this.
Now, when we look over your bio, the other company that really pops out at us is ConAgra, where you spent nearly a decade. Is that right?
Yeah, it sounds about right. I spent about 10 years at ConAgra. Basically started overseeing a lot of their international locations. So I was with their internal audit team, and then I was involved really overseeing a lot of their international places, spending time in Asia, Europe, Latin America. And that gave me a very, very good overview of a very large company. At the time, ConAgra was over 100 different entities. And I was able to work in a lot of different segments of the business. And that also allowed me to really get into more specific finance functions that allow me to take, at some point, a CFO, a divisional CFO role with them.
Now, did you, again, you said were you traveling, or where were you based over that period of time? And was it several geographies, or was it one, but you traveled quite a bit?
I was based in Omaha, Nebraska. So that's where ConAgra was based at the time. I actually relocated from Mexico City to Omaha to join ConAgra. And certainly I was traveling a lot. So it was certainly a challenge traveling from Omaha.
How did that happen? How do you get, and again, you accepted a position, I suppose, with the commitment that I'll move to Omaha, or no? Was it different?
Yeah, it was very interesting. So at the time I was in Mexico City working, I was starting my career, and ConAgra approached me. They had some opportunities in other parts of Mexico. And when I was talking to them, they actually said, hey, would you mind come and look at some other opportunities globally that we have here? I went there, interview, and everything was history. I told my wife, let's go there for a couple of years. And it's been over 20 years since we moved to the U.S., and it's been a great ride.
Now, you're not any longer in Omaha.
No. I actually in Houston. So moved 10 years ago to the Houston area, basically, when I took an opportunity to work with a private PE-backed company. So I came here and stay in Houston. So very, very nice place.
I want to ask you to reflect back some more for us on your ConAgra chapter, just given the investment of career years that you made there. When you think back, and maybe, and it's funny, the word mentor is not always appropriate, but there are people who, you worked under, or people who put you in tight spots that you had to figure the way out? Right now I'm just trying to prod your memory. Where did you really feel like you were growing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let me share this. So when I was with ConAgra, I was traveling a lot internationally. I had the opportunity to be part of a board of directors in Asia, which was a very unique experience, and really experienced really early in my career how a company was managed from a board perspective, and especially in an international location. So that gave me and started giving me a very different view of how companies were working. Right, it was not only about Excel spreadsheets and managing numbers. And then when I came back to the US after some of these trips, at ConAgra, we did something very unique. And I think that's what really triggered a lot of my journey into the CFO. We implemented something that is called the GE workout methodology, right? So the same thing that Jack Welch used when he took over for GE, we set up the same process. We actually had the same consultants come in and help us setting this up. And I was very fortunate that the CEO of ConAgra asked me to lead a part of this group. And I was getting involved with a lot of different leaders in the organization. I was involved with a lot of different parts of the organization. And that's when I started to see how everything really came together, right? It was not only about numbers. It was not only about reporting, but it's really understanding that the businesses have a mission, right? That they have problems, and that everybody needs to work together to really get these problems solved. So I was involved in so many different things, Jack, here that was impressive. So things that were completely outside of finance. So
am I right? The assignment that you were handed gave you sort of the license to engage with senior executives across the company.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were really empowered to work and work with the different leaders of the organization to understand the challenges that they were facing, right? And it was all type of businesses. So keep in mind, ConAgra had branded products, it had ingredients, it has trading, it had a lot of different type of products. But regardless of that, the beauty of this was sitting with the leaders and understand where were their main pain points. What are the things that we can help you solve? And then they were the ones that engaged their teams at all levels in the organization. So I had the opportunity to work with people from the CEO all the way down to the factory. And it was an impressive experience. And really, that really helped me putting everything together and probably becoming a good CFO, and as I call it, a co-pilot of the business, right? So it's more than just partnering. It's really understanding what's happening in the business.
Alejandro, please, if you wouldn't mind, give us a little more detail about the GE workout methodology for those of us who might not be as familiar with it, and your involvement in sort of rolling it out.
It's something actually very basic, right? So the way that it works and the way that Jack Welch set it up in GE is every single organization is going to have problems they need to solve, right? So you need to make sure that you have a good list of all those problems. Then once you have that inventory, you prioritize those problems and say, okay, what are going to have the most impact in the organization if we fix them? And the key thing here is we need to have commitment from the top. The CEO or the president of the division or whoever is responsible for that specific area has to be committed that they will be spending the time and the resources needed to fix this. So once you have that and you clearly define the problem with them, they allow us to get with the team that are closer to the work. So what we've seen, and I think the beauty of the GE workout methodology is that you get people that are closest to the day-to-day to get involved and come up with solutions. So what we do is we do a lot of pre-work and basically making sure that everybody is grounded on what we're trying to solve here. We gathered a lot of the data and we sent it to people. So everybody is prepared to basically say, this is the problem we're trying to solve. This is the information that we have available. And then we bring everybody together in a room for 2 or 3 days, no more. And we ask for their commitment, full commitment. And we want to make sure that all the key people or the key stakeholders are there. So what does this mean? That in case that there are some decisions that need to be made from a legal perspective, from HR, from IT, whoever, we have the right decision maker in the room, right? So we basically lay out the challenge. We ask everybody to work together for this day, brainstorming and come up with some recommendations and what will it take to really put it in place. And then we put it like in a town hall where they come and present those to the sponsors. So the president or the CEO, whoever was sponsoring this type of challenge, and they basically present the recommendations. And we, before the end of the day of the session, we all agree on what needs to be done. And you will be surprised how powerful this is, because we were able to fix issues that were being in the company for years and years. And really, it was just a matter of connecting and getting the people that really know what's going on. So people closer to the job, it made a big difference. And for me personally, that's how I really learned a lot of the different businesses, because it was just interacting with people, talking, tell me a little bit more about your problem. And it's very, very powerful. And I know a lot of organizations use it. And the key is companies really need to make that part of their culture, right? So we help them with multiple sessions trying to solve some of their problems. But later on, what we wanted is for them to embrace that and act on a daily basis in a similar way. So it was extremely powerful.
How do you think you did as far as changing the culture somewhat, or having the culture adopt some of the approaches?
Well, I would like to think that that we did really well, because I can tell you we took over as a team, and this was a team effort, right? Challenges that were in the company for a long time. For example, we had too many SKUs, right? So we set up a process of SKU rationalization, right? And we had to get people from all the different brands for all the different business units, and basically said, we cannot manage all of these. It is impacting profitability. So what is the best way for us to really go about this? So that was a big one. We work on diversity and inclusion, right? At the time, and I'm talking 15 years ago, Jack, ConAgra was not in a good spot from a diversity and inclusion perspective. So we wanted to go and say, what do we need to do to really take the company to the next level? And I had the opportunity to lead that session, and got people from all the different units, all the different levels, to come up with recommendations on how can we take a journey that basically positions the company in a different way. And what you're hearing, Jack, here is not all about finance, right? And that's what I was trying to get to, is when you start getting involved in other areas and really understand what's happening in the business, makes a lot of difference. So it really allowed me to connect with a lot of leaders, to make a lot of very good friends in the company at all levels.
Now, it's the dream assignment for any finance executive that's looking to broaden themselves and understand their company from at a strategic level, it sounds like. So wonderful share. Yeah. Hey, from the time you were handed the assignment or to when those town meetings were happening and all of that, how much time unfolded?
You want to do it quick. I mean, the beauty of this, you got to do it quick. So normally by the time that we agreed, it will take us 2 or 3 weeks of pre-work, just getting everything ready, and then ask everybody to come together. We'll fly people in from all over the country, get them together. And in 2 days, 2 or 3 day sessions maximum, we'll come up with specific actions. And the actions, we wanted to make sure that whatever we were going to implement, the recommendations, were going to be quick wins, right? So it was not like, okay, we need to do a new system implementation, because those are long-term, right? So we wanted to focus on the quick wins. So most of those were very quickly. So we were able to do multiple of those a year.
You're and again, this is a very large organization. I'm wondering, when you come out the other side of this wonderful undertaking, how have you changed? How did it focus you or point you in a direction?
Well, it really positioned me in a very different way, right? Because I was always looking more at the finance opportunity, and now I was looking more at what is the business opportunity here, right? So what are the type of things that we can do? What is the potential that this company has? So when I left ConAgra and I actually joined this other company that was PE backed here in Houston, it had major challenges. And I remember talking to the PE group and basically said, okay, what are the things that we can do to improve this company, right? So I understand the challenges that we're facing, but what are those things that we can do? And I can tell you that even though we didn't do exactly this implementation of G workout, I mean, the thought process helped a lot.
Yeah.
And just understanding that getting those people that are closer to the day-to-day to get involved was a big win.
And that company, that's an interesting transition for you. Again, you have a decade at ConAgra and you're stepping out into, as you described, a PE-backed firm where you're CFO of the Americas. So you're having a broader role, right?
Absolutely. But what's interesting is we went through very challenging times when this company was owned by a private equity group. We had to go through major restructurings. And one of the things that we did was being able to adapt. There was a lot of change at the time, right? Because we had to go through some very challenging times. And one of the things that it helped me, it allowed me to get involved in other areas that were outside of the traditional finance role. And that's how I ended up also getting the managing director position for a short period of time, because we had that opening and they saw me that I was very involved in all other areas of the organization, say, hey, step in, help us while we just find the next candidate here.
So it's really sort of a interim CEO position, so very broad. But thank you for revealing nicely for us your path to the CFO office, Alejandro. We might have a few more career-related questions for you a little later. But right now, let's find out about this company, ONX. What does this company do, and what are its offerings?
Yeah, Jack, if you think about the home building industry in the U.S., right? So the U.S. has been building homes the same way for decades and decades, right? And we have seen new technologies to try build homes in different ways, but they haven't really been able to scale. And there's a huge deficit of single family homes in the U.S., over 5 million. And that's basically how ONX basically comes to life, right? So what we're doing is we're building beautifully designed, high quality, sustainable homes at the lowest industry cost, right? And we're building in very, very short period of time. We're building in less than 30 days. So today we are the fastest growing technology company home builder. We utilize a proprietary technology called X Plus Construction, right? That basically help us build better quality, weather impact homes, sustainable homes that are really fulfilling this big need in the industry. Our customers are not getting only a very, very beautiful home, very well designed, but they are also getting things that other builders normally provide as upgrades. They're part of our base products. For example, like we provide hurricane impact windows in Florida as part of our base product, right? Nobody else is doing that. Or they do it as an upgrade. We do it as part of our base product. Based on the type of construction that we're doing and our technology, our homes are way more efficient. So for example, we are seeing our customers getting lower insurance costs and lower energy bills because the way that we are building the homes, right? So we are putting more insulation, we have better materials, and all of that together is what makes ONX today, right? We started in 2021. We have built over 500 homes, mainly in Florida. Right now, we're also starting in Texas. These two are the fastest growing home markets in the US, right? And we have plans to continue to grow. So now that we have proven our concept that we can build fast with the best quality and using our own technology, it's really about continuing to grow the business.
We all read about or hear about the housing shortage right now. Can you help us better understand the economic situation that is preventing homes from being built and why ONX may have an opportunity here due to that climate, or maybe not? I don't know.
Yeah, I think the opportunity is huge. Really, it's about building these sustainable homes in the right places at the right prices, right? So a lot of these has to do with affordability, has to do with the customers being able to afford the home that they want to buy. And that's why we're actually coming up with multiple products. So we have like townhomes and single family of multiple sizes. And we also take a lot of time understanding our customer, knowing exactly what type of product they need, what will they require in order for us to move there. I mean, economic situations like the ones that we were facing right in the last couple of years with interest rates growing very fast basically prevents a lot of people to move into a new home, right? Mm-hmm. Because the monthly payments go too high and they cannot afford it. So one of the things that we also do is understand our customer, right? Find out exactly what are those pain points that they have and come up with ways to help them. For example, if somebody is struggling to come up with some of the closing costs, we may have plans to help them pay in some of those closing costs. If their monthly payment is the big challenge, then we help them in ways that we can come up with lower interest rates by buying down some of these points, or we can also come up with some unique things like when I mentioned the insurance costs, right? So when we provide lower insurance costs because our homes are better designed, more efficient, and they're going to be able to get lower costs, it all pays off, right? It's all part of the monthly payment. And that's how we're basically helping people just trying to shorten this gap in the U.S.
When you mentioned those insurance services, do you partner with home insurance companies, or you have offerings yourself? Or can you clarify, please?
We actually partner with a lot of different type of vendors. So we partner with lenders to come up with a lot of these things. We partner with insurance companies as well. So to understand what type of things are relevant for them. So because the insurance companies, they want to understand what is their total risk, right? Yeah. What is the total exposure? And when they see the type of homes and we help them understanding how our homes are built, it makes a big difference for them because they understand that the risk with one of our homes is going to be way different than the risk that they have with our competitors.
Can we ask, we usually ask for sort of an abbreviated history of the capital structure. Is this privately funded, or how is the company raising money?
Yes. So as I mentioned, we started the company in 2021. So our founders are the ones that basically came up with the initial capital. And then we did our Series A, very successful. We did it all internally with the internal network from our founders. So very, very successful. So we're very well capitalized to continue this growth. It's privately held. We're basically keeping it to people that are closer to us. So we haven't really opened it to the market. And that's the way we're going to continue for now.
You might have asked this earlier, but was there how did you land here? Was there a recruiter? Was it a connection? Was it how did you find your way to ONX?
Well, Jack, as I mentioned at the beginning, one of the key things that I did was my networking. And that's exactly how it happened. So a very good friend called me once and basically told me, hey, are you interested in a startup? And my first reaction was no. But after I talked to the group here, I mean, immediately I saw the opportunity. Some of the smartest people I ever worked with, and talk about the vision and the things that we're trying to do. And that's how I landed here. So that's why I always emphasize how important it is to keep a very strong networking, right? Because you never know where the opportunities are going to come from.
So can you reveal to us maybe what are those numbers you're looking at before your first cup of coffee in the morning? What are those numbers or metrics you're tracking ever closer?
Yeah, I mean, we certainly are. We have a lot of different metrics that we track. I mean, for us, making sure that we have the right land is important. Make sure that we have a place to build. So that's one of the key metrics we look at. We're always looking at our cost, understanding all the different components of the homes. We're looking at what's happening in the industry, what the absorption rates. When we finish a community, we're going to make sure that we sell. I can tell you that we have no inventory. Everything that we built has been sold. So understand exactly, we look at this on a daily basis the number of sales, what type of pricing, what type of incentives that we need to provide to make any adjustments as necessary, right? And of course, being a CFO, I always look at cash and making sure that cash is being spent in the right way and that we're getting the returns that we're expecting from it.
When we think of this sector, we always do think of the supply chain and how when there are issues, things can get snarled up pretty quickly and badly. What's your visibility into your supply chains, and what would you share with us?
Yeah, Jack, you're touching on one of the biggest challenges, right? I think the supply chain for everybody in the industry is it's a challenge. So basically, what we do is we have a global supply chain team, and that is the way that we are approaching it. So we have a very good understanding of what our needs are going to be. So we know what we're going to build, when, and where. So we have a very strong procurement team that understands when those commodities are going to be required. And then based on our supplier base that is globally, we source the different type of products that we need and make sure that they get here on time. We had challenges like everybody else, as you mentioned, when we had this port issue, really impacted everybody in the world, right? I mean, regardless of the industry. But what we did is we were able to make changes and move really fast. And I think that's also another benefit of ONX is that we're an organization that is growing fast, but we can move very quickly internally, right? It doesn't take us this long to adjust. And whenever we anticipate, hey, we're not going to be able to get these pieces that we need for these homes, what are the plan B and plan C? And being able to execute those and put them in place very, very quickly.
Just when it comes to cost allocation and setting budgets to the different functional areas, can you share with us what is some of the back and forth that you experience, whether you're putting forth a philosophy in finance, you help the different departments or functional areas understand better why that might not be appropriate? I don't know, but can you tell us about your capital allocation philosophy and what maybe some of the areas are that you have influenced?
Yeah. So when we talk about capital allocation, I think I'm extremely fortunate that I am working with people that know how the capital allocation works probably better than anybody else. So very, very business savvy people. So it's actually a very easy conversation, right? Because we all know that our core product is really building homes. We know our costs really, really well. In case that we want to allocate more capital for some upgrades to the homes, we always do it, but that's how we come up with different type of products that are higher benefits or some upgrades that we install. And of course, if we do that, the customer requires and we'll get paid for it. So those are easy decisions because we know exactly that where we can invest more if the customer is really looking for it, right? As for investment, so we all as a business know exactly the markets that we're working on. So we look at where we want to invest from a land perspective, making sure that we have the land inventory so we can build our products. So we do the underwriting internally, making sure that the location is the right place, that we're going to be able to build the home with the quality and the cost that we want, and that we will be able to sell quickly, right? So we get together as a team and look at all the different products, the different projects. So before the underwriting, and that's how we allocate the capital.
Can we touch on the regulatory environment with you? You mentioned, of course, Florida, Texas. Are there other states that are maybe prohibitive to your approach? Like it's not, not necessarily, and friendly isn't the right word, but those states, this model just wouldn't work because they have certain underlying laws, which just, wouldn't allow us to make money the way we need to do this.
Great question, Jack. I think every state is different, and inside the states, right, like every county, there might be some uniqueness to those. So we it's part of our due diligence before we actually start into new markets. It could be a state, it could be a city, it could be a county, making sure that we understand what those requirements are going to be, right? I can tell you that not every single one is very easy to work with. So some of those could be challenging, and those are part of the things that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, right? So we have a very strong team that their only job is really to go and understand exactly these requirements and what do we need to do to make sure that we meet those requirements timely. Because think about ONX, right? So our main benefit is with that technology, we can build extremely fast. But if we cannot get those permits on time, then we miss a lot of this benefit of building fast. So that's why you're touching on one of the key points here is understanding exactly what are those requirements and if we can meet them. I can tell you we'll meet everything, every single one, but it's about which ones makes more sense right now. In Florida and Texas, where we are working on, we have a very good understanding of those requirements, and we're working very closely with all these entities to make sure that we provide the information that is required on a timely basis.
Now, when I visit your site, my understanding is you are looking to develop homes at with great savings. These are homes that wouldn't ordinarily be accessible at the price you're going to sell them. Am I overstating that?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, one of the benefits of our X plus methodology is making sure that we produce with lower cost, and that really allows us to even incorporate other things that normally will be considered upgrades for other builders into our home business. So that's why we're seeing a lot of our customers coming and saying, well, we never seen a home like this to be considered like an entry level home, right? Because they can see that we included a lot of these extra benefits. And we can do that because we have a lot of cost benefits by producing in a manufacturing environment with our own technology.
Now, being as familiar with the construction industry as I perhaps should be, and I'm going to use the word modular, right? Am I right? Modular homes have been around since, the 50s or the 60s. This isn't that. This is something. No. So help us understand. And I mean, is it, large portions of these homes can be transported as, and then they are
like a Lego, right? So we basically built all these components with our own technology, and then we bring them to the site and we would put them together at the site. So very different than the modular companies that you've seen there, that they basically build everything inside a warehouse and they put it in a big truck and move it, right? So this is very different. And also the quality is very different, right?
The designers of these homes, I mean, do you have a bullpen of architects? Or is it something that, can you just give us a little insight into, who originally mapped out these techniques and best practices to create homes in this fashion?
Well, this is exactly the team that started the company, right? So the way that ONX started, it was big believers in manufacturing, right? So if you look at some of our founders, they came from manufacturing environment, and this was one of the big beliefs we can do this, and we have all of those ideas here, and then we got one of the best architects in the world to help us coming up with these type of designs. And our operations team making sure that we can actually do this in a manufacturing environment in such a way, right? So they've been working on this for years and years. So it's very unique technology that really allows us to do this. And to your point, yes, we do have a lot of architects. We have our own designs that we produce. And the beauty of them is that all of them can actually be produced at our factories.
Well, thank you for that. We're going to jump to our finance strategic moment question. Again, this is where I ask you for one moment of insight that you've experienced along the way in your career. And because you're a finance leader, you responded to it. You saw a risk maybe that you were avoided. You saw an opportunity that was pursued. Anything come to mind when we ask for a finance strategic moment?
The first one that comes to mind is when I was working with this private equity-backed company, we had to go through a restructuring. So we had to do a major conversion of debt to equity. And it was a big deal because it involved a lot of different banks. It involved a very different strategy to put it in place. So this was going to impact customer, vendors, employees, everybody, right? So that happened right after I joined this company, and I had to get very involved very quickly, right? So, and the reason I call it one of the strategic moments is because I had to work with all these different stakeholders on a daily basis, right? and giving them the confidence that whatever we were doing was going to be for the greater good of the organization in the future, right? And it's certainly very different when you're talking to investors and they know that some of their investment is at risk, or you're talking to employees, right? And they know that the company is going to look different, right? A few months from now because all these changes that we're having, right? When you're talking to customers, of course, customers are going to be very concerned about, are you going to be able to continue to support me in the way that you have been, right? And some of them actually made the move and do something different, right? And you're talking to vendors and said, hey, are you going to be able to pay me tomorrow? So it is all of these different stakeholders. And of course, this information became public. It's a large organization. There was a lot of noise in the market. And of course, being the CFO of here, the US and the Americas, I had to be on calls almost every day with all of these different stakeholders, right? And think about it. Some of those were in Canada and the US, in Brazil and Mexico, all over the place, and just giving the confidence, right? So it was probably the most challenging time, but also very strategic from a finance perspective, because I was able to really see how these different stakeholders were looking at the things. And at the same time, working with all these lawyers and PE group and everything to try to make this happen. So very, very unique.
CFOs and controllers, does expense management feel like a necessary evil? It's time to switch to Brex. Brex automates and accelerates spend management with easy-to-use corporate cards, travel, expense management, and bill pay, all on one AI-powered platform. Brex makes it easy to boost efficiency and compliance enterprise-wide and free up your managers, employees, and accounting team for higher impact work. Top companies from startups to enterprises are using Brex to automate manual work and transform their finance operations. We're talking DoorDash, Robinhood, Airtable, and countless other industry leaders. Ready to join them? Switch to AI-powered spend management at Brex.com. We're going to jump to what we refer to as our mentoring round, where we're going to ask you to look back again, and we're wondering about, and you can pick the exact CFO role that you stepped into, but when you think back to the first time all the CFO responsibilities sort of fell on your shoulders, and you realized, wow, I don't know what I was signing up for, perhaps. What is the piece of advice you'd give that individual looking back when you had that job only 30 or 60 days? What is it that you could go back in time and tell yourself now that might help?
Well, I wish somebody had come at that time and shared a little bit about it. But I think that the biggest piece of advice is don't be afraid. I mean, you're not going to know all the answers. So if you need help, if there's something that needs to be done differently, raise your hand, right? So I remember, and I was very fortunate when I was at ConAgra, one of the presidents of one of the divisions. I was actually talking to him right after I took one of the CFO positions. And I was talking about some of the challenges that we were facing. And I asked for some type of advice. And he said, raise your hand. I mean, if there is something that you think needs to be done differently, or if you don't have it, just raise your hand and you will be surprised on the support that you're going to need. And if there are opportunities or other things that you want to get involved, just raise your hand and get there, right? So I think that was extremely helpful at the time. And I will repeat that same thing to me again and all over again.
Alejandro, we always like to ask our guests to reflect a little bit on the personal side of things. We're wondering if there's something in general most people don't know about you, something your colleagues might be surprised to hear. Anything?
You know, I always tell people is what you see is what you get, right? So I'm very transparent. So I'm very open. So that's good. But I'm very family oriented, right? And so I share with you that we moved from Mexico City to Omaha. That was a big change. And certainly leaving the extended family behind was a big change for us. And having, at the time, we had 2 little boys, and living and traveling so much when I was going to Asia, Europe, and Latin America, and leaving the family behind was really hard. But one of the things that I remember, and probably not a lot of people know, is I had opportunities to stay over long weekends and everything in all these great places to go and do some sightseeing. And I always told them, no, sorry, I got to go back because I had a baseball game to catch, right? So, and I can tell you that was probably one of the best things I've done, because I always came back for those weekends and just be with those little boys and just play ball or whatever it had to be done. I mean, I'm a big believer you need to work hard, and I've always done it. But you also gotta balance that with your family life, right? And I am that my number one priority has always been. And people sometimes don't believe me and say, "Oh, you've been to India 20, 30 times and you never been to the Taj Mahal," right? And say, no, because I mean, I had multiple opportunities, but I made the decision to come and play baseball with a 5-year-old.
That's excellent. Thank you for that. It's very revealing. It's so true. So thank you for that. We wonder if there's anything, and it could be a book or a resource that you'd recommend. It might not be a business book. It might be just something that you escape with. It might be something that influenced your thinking. Don't know. Anything come to mind, a book or a resource that you'd like to share?
You know, I love reading books, and I normally try to stay with biographies. I like to know how people actually approach things. One that I just read very recently is called What It Takes. And it's the one that tells the story about the CEO of Blackstone, Steven Schwarzman, and how he created this powerhouse. And one thing that he mentions in the book that I think it's so right. He says, go big, right? If you're going to commit yourself on doing something, it's as easy to do something big as it is to do something small, right? And for me, that was very revealing, because, I mean, there's a lot of, we got to make decisions on how we're going to prioritize our time and our efforts. There's just so many hours in the day, and just got to go big, right? And that was an incredible story. And if you think about, when I read that book, is somebody that is so successful, and he was so successful even before he started Blackstone, and how much effort he put into to build this, right? And bring the best of the best to really create what Blackstone is today.
Nice. Thank you for that. Great resource for us. We're finally at our last question, where we'll ask you to look forward finally. And we're interested in your priorities for the coming 12 months. What would your CFO priorities be?
Well, right now, that we have proven everything that I mentioned to you in ONX, right? That we can build fast, beautiful homes, sustainable. It is really on executing our strategy, right? So continue to support the growth and making sure that we have the right resources to support it. So it's building very strong partnerships with the different stakeholders to deliver this. So, I mean, continue our relationships with our investors. We're very fortunate to have a great set of investors that continue to support us. So making sure that we provide the information that they need. From a banking perspective, lenders, we have also built very strong relationships. We got to continue to do this. As we enter into new markets, build those same relationships in these new markets. What we've been looking at is people that can grow with us in other places. So being very fortunate that people we started to do business with, that they believe in us when we were starting, because as a startup is very different, right? So you are basically telling an idea, a dream, something you're basically going to put together. Now we can show them what we're doing. So it's different. And now these partners grow with us. So it's really about making sure that we have the resources to implement this growth strategy, and that we have the cash to support the growth, and that is profitable. So that's what we're working on.
Alejandro Castro, thank you for joining us on CFO Thought Leader.
Thank you, Jack. Pleasure to be here.
Hello, Thought Leader listeners. We hope 2024 is treating you well. If you haven't already, we hope you'll pay a visit to CFOThoughtLeader.com and go ahead and subscribe to our Mentoring Round newsletter where we highlight the career lessons and moments of strategic insight shared by our recent CFO guests. Also, LinkedIn users, please go ahead and follow our CFO Thought Leader company page, and you'll be certain not to miss a single Thought Leader video debut. CFO Thought Leader, the #1 thought leadership platform exclusively for and by CFOs. As always, thank you for listening.